Hey, I'm Jillian, and you're watching Revitalize from the Inside Out. Thank you for coming again. And guys, you're watching video number 4 of the Ayahuasca retreat adventure here in Peru. So yes, moving on to the Ayahuasca ceremony number 4. Here we are, the next day, and I'm getting weaker and weaker, to be honest. I have to tell you and let you in on this. I've started what was called the dietas on the 3rd day of being here, in order to heal my irritable bowel syndrome, and to help with a few other things as well. Basically, I'm starting the mornings now on this dietas drinking a plant medicine called ajosache. It's made out of a wild garlic. It tastes like garlic tea. I start the morning with that, and then our meals are very bland, very small and very simple, and absolutely low calorie. So this morning I had a couple of boiled eggs and bland porridge, which I could not finish. So, you know, our days are probably no more than 600 to 800 calories on this dietas. So yeah, it's a good decision, but I'm getting weaker from the ayahuasca experiences. My body's taken a lot, and the dietas is quite hard as well. To be honest, I don't have too much of an appetite in the morning after the evening ceremonies, to be honest. So yeah, last night was different. Last night was intense. Again, as each night, I walked in with a bit of anxiety, apprehension, and some resistance to the experience as well. I walked up to the altar, or the place where the shaman sits, and they prepared my portion of the ayahuasca, and I took a drink and gagged it down. Believe me, it's horrible taste. It's a brew of plants, and in video 1 with the introduction, I believe I showed you, video 1, I showed you the plant already. It's a vine, and basically they spend many hours brewing this with other plants as well to help the process be as effective as possible. I can report to you that the overall experience is very positive, and one thing to keep in mind, this cannot be compared to recreational drugs, not at all. This is not something you do recreationally for fun or as a party. No, just absolutely not. So, and it's not addicting either, of course not, but it has been a very healing experience for me, these ceremonies. So I've written in my journal once again, and I'm going to read to you everything that I finally put into some sensible words. Really, it's difficult to make sense of everything, so that's why I journal all of my experiences. I need some time to process. So here we are. Ayahuasca last night was healing my whole body, and in multiple ways simultaneously. As I mentioned the previous night, it was just focused on my guts and my stomach and abdominal area. This time it was my whole body. I felt Mother Ayahuasca traveling through my body, first my head in the form of pressure, then through my neck in the form of slight pain and tension. From what I can remember, I could then feel it working everywhere and over my whole body. Before it focused on my stomach, as I mentioned, it went back to my stomach again, and my entire body was like a big factory. I even saw visions of a big factory that was my body. My entire body was just totally submitted this time, submitted to the experience, surrendered. So yes, I was in this vision. The factory was totally intertwined with plants and vines and even activities, like very busy, multiple different kinds of activities in different parts of the factory. I was touring this factory, and and as I did, I would experience snapshot images of previous discomforting and unfamiliar images from throughout my life, none of which I can remember too well though. As ayahuasca began encapsulating my body, I remember feeling this enormous expansion of space inside of my chest. That was kind of scary and incredible at the same time. I felt like I was breathing into a huge, giant air balloon. a stomach, of lungs. It took time to inhale enough oxygen to fill all of that space inside of me that seemed to be the size of a palace, even, maybe even better than a balloon, a palace. Eventually, my breathing became automatic, and it was done for me. It was being done for me. Automatic. I wasn't in control of my breath. Something else was. Something else had taken the responsibility. And I was relieved because I found it very hard to remember to breathe under this experience. Every breath I took for me was very big, spaced out, and very deep healing breaths. Towards the end, I met Ayahuasca in human form. I saw her face, the upper part of her chest, neck, and face. I couldn't see her lower part. She appeared from a position above me as I was laying in a straight position, cocooned in my blanket, totally surrendered to the experience. She peered over me and gestured me to come out and be free and join her on a higher level from where I was positioned. She said, "You're ready. Come on out. You don't have to be there." And I thought, wow, all this healing can take place and I can just leave for a bit? And I closed my eyes and I imagined myself just escaping my body, shooting out of my body, following her up to the top of what seemed like a big tree house overlooking the jungle and the universe simultaneously. She was so calm, so beautiful, attractive, and peaceful. And I stayed beside her as long as I could. So she told me, "You can be free. Come out. You don't have to remain there." I joined her immediately. We sat on top of the roof on a balcony together, her treehouse, gazing over the jungle and the universe. Her face was beautiful, warm, and welcoming. All I could see was her face. Her body seemed to be made up of vines and tree trunks. It seems that she has responded to my intentions and my requests, which is great. More of my intentions, as I told you before, one of my intentions was healing spiritually, physically, and mentally, and to escape fear, or at least to know how to do it so I can go home and continue the work in doing so. Guard my thoughts, guard my responses, just guard everything, in total awareness. You need to engage yourself in your life. Me, personally, I feel this way now. I was asking for freedom, courage, removal of negativity and excuses, or fear. I saw the skeleton of Ettore when he stood up on the other side of the Maloka. He was so green and luminous inside. He too was healing. I followed Ettore for a bit out of the Maloka. I visited the toilet and spent some time outside looking up at the moon, the stars, and the sky. I can tell you, I was taking big, deep breaths of the whole universe. It was so liberating. Breathing was extra liberating. And every breath I took, I felt I was healing. I became a part of the process of growing and healing. It was totally, totally freeing. The stars that night were so beautiful. The moon was enormous. The light was so luminous. This time I was much more active. I wasn't cocooned in one place for all those hours. Finally got the courage to get up and move around. But yeah, this time I was a bit more connected to Ettore as he got up to move around. I was totally convinced that Ettore was a healer for some strange reason. I believed he was, because of the work he did with me the first night. His voice was healing, his words were healing. The energy I felt coming off of him was totally healing. I felt safe. And he did work with a couple of other people in the Maloka last night as they needed healing as well, protection. So I saw him as a healer. He had such a profound effect on me that night, and I'll never forget it. He guided me to a safe and better place and a better state of mind with his voice on my first and most terrifying night of ayahuasca. So, yeah, other people could be absolutely helpful during this journey as well. Of course, I owe a lot to the healer for guiding me when I seemed to be under a lot of stress, pressure, terror, and pain. He convinced me that I was okay and convinced me that I was in total control. And I always remember that now. And especially last night. It wasn't too difficult. I didn't mention this to you yet, but after the first night, I hadn't purged. I wasn't throwing up anymore. I wasn't screaming, yelling, or contracting into any awkward yawning positions or anything. The yawns were much lighter and easier going. I was still releasing possibly some energies that were unwanted or unneeded. yeah, I had a more pleasant experience last night. I'm not any less terrified because it's still unpredictable and anything could happen, and it shouldn't be expected. No particular night should be expected, so I expect nothing. But definitely I'm learning quite a few lessons here. And I hope that, my hope is that when I finish this experience and I finish with the medicines and the very intense low-calorie dieta, that I can find myself healed and changed and somewhat liberated in a multitude of ways. My intention is to be more courageous and just find a bit more joy in the passions that I'm chasing after in life. To be clear, to attract positivity, to just be, at a much heightened level of awareness, and to be very well disciplined. And hopefully I can escape some of the negativity as well. But yes, there's more to come. So guys, I'm going to report to you. Stay tuned for my next video, video number 5. Thank you very much for watching.